Gentlemen, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle, and today we're going to talk about why when you meet girls from day game, night game, online game, you cannot play it safe with them and try to take it slow and, slowly build to intimacy. And why? That's most guys' natural inclination when they really like a girl is to not rush things. Play it safe, take it nice and easy. Don't try to bang her on the first date. No, you got to build your way up to that after multiple dates. And that works if you're doing social circle game where it pays to take your time and slowly build your interest, because it's a completely different ball game. The way normies date in social circle, going on multiple dates and then trying to finally have try to bang them after 3 or 4 dates, it doesn't work so well when you get girls from cold approach or night game or online game. And there's several reasons for that. First, when it's social circle, girls don't want to put out easy because they know if things go wrong, it gets messy because it's within the social circle, which is why they require multiple dates and you have to slowly build up the way to intimacy. Where you don't have that problem with online or any other type of game, like day game, night game. No, speed rules the day on any other type of game besides social circle. Because the more time passes, the more things can go wrong. She could meet another guy on a dating app. Maybe she gets back with her ex-boyfriend. Things pop up. You are not a high priority to a woman who she doesn't even know. You're just some pixels on a screen if you're doing online game. You're just a guy that had a brief conversation with her. If you're, meeting her from day game and night game, she completely forgets about you if you didn't actually sleep with her that night in most cases, because usually she's DTF that night. Anyways, so why waiting and trying to play it safe with girls that you meet from online game, day game, night game will completely ruin and botch so many of your potential lays, potential relationships. Because these girls really have no attachment to you until you actually, have intimacy with them. Then they become attached. But at that point, you have to move quickly. Speed rules the day. Because the more time passes, the more things can go wrong. Things can pop up in her life that are way more higher priority than you. So that's why you have to move fast. I know I wasn't always like this. I used to think that when I really met an attractive woman, I had to really play it safe in order to not screw it up. And that was the worst thinking I could ever do. Of course, I botched all of these dates in which I tried to play it safe. And from then on, I realized I had to move quickly. I had to try to, escalate to sex as early as possible. So here's why, I'll just give you a couple rundowns of my history of trying to play it safe with girls. Okay, my first instance was notice these girls were all super attractive. And you'll notice that if you don't have a lot of experience with super hot chicks, you will try to play it safe and convince yourself no, it's probably not a good idea to bang her this early. I'll try to date her a couple more times and then I'll try. Completely the wrong way of going about it. You're shooting yourself in the foot, and you're way better off trying to escalate to sex right off the bat. Well, not right off the bat, but very early. Okay, so let's go over my history about doing this. So I met a very attractive chick, from a Filipino chick that I met her on the SkyTrain, and got her number, arranged a date, and we had a fantastic first date. She lived a couple blocks from my house. We met up at an intersection, and then I took her around and We walked down the street. I think I took her to a thrift store, and we kind of messed around. I said I was looking for some like tennis rackets that I may buy if there was some cheap. But we played around in the like thrift store, like looking at different shit. And yeah, we were walking. I took her walking down her street, and then I went back to the intersection, and I could tell she was really feeling me, because she asked me like, oh, so like whereabouts do you live? With like a hopeful look in her eyes. And I'm like, oh yeah, just up the block that way. Anyways, it was nice meeting you. I hug her goodbye, and I end the date, because I'm like, yeah, it went pretty well. She seemed like she was into me. Good job for me. I'll play it safe and arrange another date some other time. Meanwhile, looking back, she was DTF right there. I could have just taken her home and be like, yeah, come join me for we'll make some lunch and come join me. And I would have sealed the deal right then and there, had I known what I know now and know how to escalate things. But no, she was DTF right there, asking me so where do you live? With a hopeful look in her eye, yeah, let's go over there. So what did I do? No, I played it safe. I arranged a date, the next date, at a comedy club. Completely dumb. It was a total disaster. She didn't have fun. Completely ruined the date. And I probably could have salvaged it then and there as well, had I invited her back to my place. But no, I wanted to play it safe. And of course, she never wanted to see me after that. That's why it's so critical to move quickly with girls that you meet from, Daygame, and especially from online. Okay, so that's one girl down. Next girl was a very attractive Persian girl that I met on Tinder. We went around, we walked down the block, and the connection was surreal. I couldn't believe how much we connected in terms of this girl hated how flaky Vancouver people are, and they never do follow through with what they planned. And of course, every guy feels the exact same way about knowing how flaky women are. And yeah, we totally hit it off. And I invited her upstairs to my place after our walk. And she goes oh, okay, but I can only stay for a little bit because I've got to be up in the morning, early in the morning. And that little thing completely threw me for a loop. I'm like, oh, okay. So I take her upstairs to my apartment, and I'm like, well, I can't really do anything because, if I start moving things forward, then she's just going to be like, oh, I got to go. I've got to get up early, so see you later. So I'm like, okay, I put on a movie, and I just sit there and don't escalate on her at all. We end up watching part of a TV show or something. And I totally blew it. She's like, oh yeah, I got to get going. Instead of escalating, instead of trying to have sex with her, which is what she wanted. That whole little oh, I can only stay for a little bit. That's code. It's just her giving plausible deniability. Whenever a girl says oh yeah, I'll come in, but sex is not going to happen, or I can only stay for a little bit, it means she's ready to have sex. It means she knows it's on the table. All you have to do is try. Completely so dumb. I was so dumb at this point. And of course, when I let her out the door, I never heard from, I tried to arrange a date another time, gone. Because she was ready that night. She was ready for me, and I basically turned her down. I mean, no, when a girl is DTF, she thinks she's being super obvious. She thinks, of course this guy knows, I want to bang him, but they never explicitly say it. They just kind of hint at it, I'm looking at you. So yes, when a girl is DTF and you do not escalate to sex, you will never hear from her again, because it's you rejected her. It's you said, no, I'm not interested in banging you. You're not very attractive to me. That's what it feels like to a woman when she's DTF and she thinks she's being super obvious, but you don't pick up the signs. You don't escalate to sex. It's you're rejecting her, which is why you will never see her again. Okay? Another black chick from Tinder, super hot. She comes over to my place. She's like, oh, my friend just like dropped me off. I can only stay for like a couple minutes, and then I'll invite you over to my place after. I just wanted to kind of meet you and see what you were like. And as soon as I met her in my lobby of the apartment, sparks were flying. Like, I could feel the attraction. I could feel she was DTF. But as soon as she was up in my apartment, I sat her on her bed and I was touching her legs. But I'm like, oh no, like if I try to escalate on her, she's just gonna run out the door saying like, I've got to meet my friend, like we'll meet up later, and I'll never see her again. So I'll just play it cool, and I'll hang out for a little bit, and then I'll just let her leave, and then she'll call me in a couple hours, and then I'll go over to her place, and then I'll really have time to rock her world. Of course, I never got the call. I never heard from her again because she was DTF that night. That whole excuse about, oh, I've got to run, like I can't be here for very long, that's just her plausible deniability. It means absolutely nothing. It's just her way of convincing herself, like, I'm not a slut for coming over to a guy's place and banging him. It's just her way of expressing to herself that, like, I'm not easy, or I'm not, I don't put out easily. It's just plausible deniability. You can completely throw it out the window. It means nothing to you. So when a girl says like, I can only stay for a little bit, she's lying. She's just telling herself that. You are supposed to escalate to sex, and she'll love you for it because that's what she came for. Anyways, okay, those are the instances where I completely botched women that were completely DTF and totally into me, but I decided to play it safe and wait for my turn. So dumb. So do not do this. When you meet a girl who really wants you that night and you reject her by saying like, I'm going to play it safe, we'll do this next time, it crushes her ego, and which is why you will never hear from these girls ever again, because it's like you rejected them. Even though like you didn't really pick up on the signs, you were like second guessing yourself on whether this girl was actually DTF or not. So speed rules the day. Whenever you try to when you meet a girl from online, when you meet a girl from Daygame, try to escalate to sex that night, because you never know if you're ever going to see this girl again. And if you're worried about if I try to bang her too early, then I'll never see her again, there's ways to recover from that. If you bring a girl over and you don't have sex with her that night, there's ways you can recover. It's recoverable. Whereas a girl that wanted to have sex with you, but you never escalated to sex, you will never hear from these girls again because they take that rejection super hard. All right, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching.